Hi there, welcome to No Nonsense Whiskey. My name's Vin PF and on today's episode we're checking out the latest Summerton release, and that's the Speyburn 18. Now I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I did promise I was going to go back and cover some of the older Summertons that I'd missed, and I will do that, but again, if you wanted to check out my overview of last year, I did a kind of 2004 in review of the entire Summerton Club, so make sure you go and check out that video as well. I'll drop a link in the description below. But we're skipping ahead to February 2025's delivery, and I think it's an important one because it marks the change of their pricing structure. So it's gone from 50 quid every 2 months to nearly 60 quid every 2 months, and with that comes hopefully an increase in awesomeness from the whiskey. That's something that they've been striving to do for a while now. You know, obviously whiskey is becoming more and more expensive. They've kept their price static for many years, and as far as I'm aware, it was kind of limiting what they were able to get out to us, each month. I was always happy with what we got, but the idea being that this extra tenner opens up the doors to loads more whiskey. Now the first thing they've had delivered then is this Speyburn 18. It's been a long time since we saw an 18-year-old from Summerton. I think the last one was Deanston, which again was a pretty good deal, although ultimately I wasn't that bothered by that one, to be honest. But yeah, it was a great deal. And here again, we've got an 18-year-old whiskey for 60 quid delivered in the UK. So that's not additional with P&P. That's the delivered price. So you can factor in a fiver off that as well. This RRP's for about 90 quid, but we tend to see it around about 80, 85, something like that in the UK markets. Not sure what it sells around the world. But I guess finally, I've been rabbiting on about Summerton Club, and if you're not aware of who they are, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you probably already know. But they're a great club in the UK who send out a bottle of whiskey every 2 months. It's a complete secret. You chuck them now 60 quid, and they send you an awesome bottle of whiskey. I've been a member of theirs for many years now, paid customer, and really enjoy my experience with them. So yeah, this is no different. Okay then, let's get into the actual bottle and see what we got. Speyburn, not actually something I know much about. I've never had a Speyburn bottle before, my first one. Speyside is obviously like the cradle of Scotch almost. There's so many distilleries up there now, it's unreal. But it's not a flavour profile that I tend to gravitate towards usually. I'm more of the kind of Stinky Pete kind of stuff now, and I've obviously been hitting English whiskey quite hard recently as well. So whenever I'm looking at making my purchases, I would ordinarily be putting my money somewhere else, which again is a reason why I do love Summerton, because the chances are, even seeing it on deal, I probably wouldn't have picked this up just because I probably would have bought something else already. I only have limited amount of money each month. But that's what I like about the club, is that every single time that they deliver something, it isn't necessarily something that I would have gone out and bought. Therefore, a complete surprise to me. But yeah, let's check it out and see what we've got in the glass. One thing my first impressions of this when I opened up the bottle were that the colour is so good and deep that it can't possibly be natural, but it actually is. Natural colour, non-chill filtered, 46%. All things that are pretty reasonable. Obviously me, I'm a high ABV kind of guy, but I don't sniff at the old lower ABVs. Even down at 40 these days, I prefer not to have a 40 if I can get away with it, but there are some excellent quality whiskies at 40%. But yeah, so the colour looking quite deep actually. I'm not sure what I would classify that as. Not quite a thick mahogany, but a dark copper maybe. Let's check it out on the nose and see what we got. Now for me, I've got this as a kind of initially quite light and inviting. It's quite a good wedge of honey and treacle and raisins in here. This has got quite a lot of, they say, American and Spanish oak mixed together for over the 18 years. I imagine that means that it's got quite a lot of ex-bourbon and quite a lot of sherry cask in it. But neither one of them is overpowering the other. And I certainly don't get any of my dreaded sulphur, which is great. It's so well rounded that I'm struggling to pick up any individual notes. They're all just kind of like generic notes because they're so intermingled and so like that orchestra analogy where you hear the sound as one sound. Sometimes you can pick away at the little bits and bobs that are in it, but it's just a really nice, well-rounded whiskey. Let's try on the palate. Okay, Now for me, it's very indicative of the nose and the palate, but I get a few extra little bits and bobs, which is, although the nose is fairly sweet, I find the palate to be kind of like bittersweet almost. So I'm getting a little bit of dark chocolate, but that's mixed in with a very, very light weaving of oranges on that kind of citrus note. But weirdly as well, I'm getting this kind of pear drops vibe from it as well, which is, to be honest with you, something that I tend to get from Speyside, so I might be convincing myself of that a little bit, but I do get those kind of like, the sugared pear drop sweets, if that's a worldwide thing at all. But yeah, an interesting one. In terms of finish, I would say medium. It's quite soft, inviting. Obviously, this is no peat at all in this, so just those kind of like sherry notes that we're expecting to get. Now, as a conclusion, for me, this is an extremely well-rounded whiskey. The fact that it's 18 is great to see and great to be delivered. I find age statements are rare and rare on my shelf as it goes on, because I'm finding myself buying younger and younger distilleries. So it's great to have another 18-year-old on the shelf. For me, it's not a flavour profile that I tend to lean towards or pick at any length of time, but that said, it's perfect for it, really. It's perfect to go on the shelf. It's a perfect drinker's whiskey. I wouldn't say this is one that's you're gonna want to keep and hoard and bring out for special occasions. It doesn't really sit that well with my palate in that kind of regard. Definitely a drinker's whiskey. And on those rare occasions where I am not fancying peat, which it does happen, but like I said, it is rare, then this is exactly the kind of thing I'll be reaching for. And I'm a big fan of a good ex-bourbon at the moment. Loving ex-bourbon, the old backbone of the Scotch industry. But yeah, I think an absolute stunning way to open up their new price increase. I know next time they're going to be doing one of their own casks, I think, and there's this option now where you can get a peated and a non-peated version, which I've obviously opted for, so that'll be a dual review when I finally get around to that. But yeah, there'll be a lot of you that have got this, obviously, if you're Summerton fans, and a lot of you that would have tried it anyway because you're just whiskey fans. So let's have a chat in the comments below. Let me know if you've got this. Let me know if you've tried it. Let me know what you think. I don't really give scores, but I would say this is probably a solid 7 out of 10 for me if I was ever going to do it. Like, great whiskey, nothing that's too out there and exciting, and that's the kind of thing I tend to gravitate towards. But yeah, a solid whiskey nonetheless. Cheers.